West Tigers fans, welcome into another edition of the West Tigers Life podcast Coaches Report with Adel. A very exciting one after a huge win over the Dragons last night. We're bright and early on a Sunday morning. We're obviously, look, I wouldn't say we're happy this morning, but not so chirpy after a couple of beers at the Orange Grove last night with the fellas. This morning, my voice, it's luckily I'm not talking much on this podcast because my voice is absolutely shot from yelling at the TV on our live stream if you didn't catch that. So give us a subscribe on YouTube, at the West Tigers Life YouTube channel. Give us a follow on the socials, the TikTok, the Instagram, the X at West Tigers Life. On all of those, they're all firing up. We've got clips of us going absolutely ballistic last night, Mr. Bishara, as our boys, they made it hard at the end then, but we got it done.
Yeah, good morning, boys. It was a courageous win. Backing up a heroic win from last Sunday at Leichhardt was always going to be a big ask, and it was you could tell it was quite taxing on the boys. A lot of the stats went against us, and somehow we got the win done. I truly believe this team has a lot of belief now within itself. We played with a style last night and a balance that showed we were out to win, and we believed we were going to win. Full credit to St George for coming back into the game, but ultimately, somehow, like I said, the stats didn't show it was our way, but the boys hung on and got the win, and who cares? Ultimately, that's the only stat that matters.
And our coach, he was there. He was in the braved the rain of Suncorp Stadium. Adel, it looked like it was absolutely pouring down, but when you get the win, you don't care, do you?
No, you don't. It actually didn't rain much during our game. It rained in the previous couple of games, but yeah, the Tigers game, there was I think bits and pieces of showers during the game. But yeah, that was an interesting game to watch live. It was very different to what we've seen of the squad the first 8 rounds. The intent around the attack last night was significantly different, which I think is potentially what's disappointed Benji after the game around our. I think our efficiency around our attack, but then the lack of efficiency at the other end of the field. So I think he's a little bit disappointed. But yeah, interesting watching it live last night, and then watching the once we knew we were doing this in the morning, I thought I'd watch the replay again last night, and yeah, very, very interesting, to say the least.
The one thing I will say, I did watch because my 4.5-year-old obviously was too late for him last night, so I watched the 15-minute highlights package with him this morning, and I was feeling a little bit guilty about that dream bullet try, but I do think the Dragons, I'm just going to say this, I think the Dragons actually threw a forward pass in the lead up. So, ball don't lie. I'll leave you with that. Fellas, and Rob, I'll let you take it away with Adel.
Thank you, Josh. All right, Adel. Well, just firstly, your overall thoughts on the game before we dissect it. Obviously, that's back-to-back weeks for you being at a game, and I'm assuming it's your third live game for the year. How did it look on the eye compared to how it looked on TV? And just tell us your overall thoughts before we break this down.
Yeah, I think last night, Jerome Luai's influence on our squad made the difference to what the team was. And I mean by influence more so than anything. I had one of my close friends was with me at the game, and he's sort of learning the art of sort of coaching. So how you watch a game from a coach's perspective. And I asked him to watch Jerome all game, and he made some really good points to me about how his leadership throughout the game, and almost like at every moment there was a stoppage. You could see him almost getting around to every player on the field. To me, that looked like a performance, Rob, of us of the last 3 years when we play well, right? And when we attack well. The difference with last night is the competitors and the accountability across the squad. We were willed over the line last night. Like, St George threw a haymaker to start the game. Sulim, I shouldn't break this down because I know we're going to do it in a sec, but every time they scored, we sort of hit straight back. It was almost like we felt comfortable in ourselves, but I'm guessing that's what disappointed Benji is we didn't have the killer instinct to say, let's go on with the game. But it felt like that they were always comfortable. They never looked stressed. Maybe us as fans, we did, but at the game, you could almost tell the players almost didn't take it too seriously, but obviously they did, but they just felt so comfortable in themselves. And that's the difference from us the last couple of years, where we can put those sort of performances and then the team can come steaming back and beat us, let's be honest. Whereas the difference last night was that competitive edge of some of those players we brought into the squad. And I'm crediting Jerome last night. He was fantastic in that first half. I think they went away from what our attack shape looked in the second half, but that's again with no field territory. And the share of possession in the second half was like 60% to the Dragons. So he's got to be our dominant leader in attack. You could tell he was organising everything. He called all the plays. He called the Tito try in the first half, which we'll talk about in a sec. You could see if you go back and watch the replay, they get to a certain point, they were going to run a particular shape, and then he changes the shape mid-play, and he tells Jerome what the shape is, and then they rearrange their structure with their shape on the outside. So Seathrath runs the tail line. So you could tell he was someone that understood what the plan was, and he executed it really well.
Did you find last night that was the best our attack has looked, especially in the first half, obviously, that it has all year? And in terms of variety and balance and not being too sideways, like we had enough forward direction, yet we went sideways when we needed to. It felt to me like the boys knew they were going to win, and they just knew they were going to strip them apart, whether it was taking them wide, going up the middle, offloads. It was a first half that I hadn't seen before, and it was really exciting for me because our attackers look so clunky this year, and I didn't see clunkiness last night. And as you said, it felt like the attack came off Jerome, and it was really nice to see the little individual moments of Jerome running and actually making a difference with his running, as opposed to the big sidestep and getting in each other's way. There was a bit of penetration about Jerome's individual attack last night. Did you see it the same way, or am I just being a bit of a dreamer?
No, absolutely. 100%. I also think that, again, you got to give the coaches credit. I think we planned our attacks. So 2 of our tries were scored with 2-on-1s on the wingers. So normally you see a lot of lead lines on halves, and that's what we have been running. Last night, Charlie Staines' first try was scored off a lead line by Adam on their centre. The Tito's try was scored by a lead line on their centre as well. So I think we made a decision that we took Moses Sully and Valentine Holmes out of the equation in regards to their defence. And what we decided to do was running our lead lines on their centres and create 2-on-1s on the wingers. So again, you've got to give the coaches credit for that, because that had to have been a plan that they've come up with to attack those guys. And if you watched carefully last night, there was a moment there where we run the shape on the Samuela try, and Valentine Holmes comes flying out of the line. And I reckon, to me, that looks like that was a plan as well for the little kick in behind for Samuela. So you've got to give a lot of credit to the coaches in regards to their preparation to this game. The other thing I'll say about our attack, which is really surprising, is the boys wouldn't have trained much this week. It's not a short, it's a 6-day turnaround, but it's still not a traditional 6-day turnaround. So there wouldn't have been much preparation in regards to this. So I'm guessing this attack has been in play for a while, and they've just decided to pull the trigger last night at Magic Round.
It was beautiful to see, Adel. I want to go through these tries before mentioning a couple of major points in the first half. Are you happy to go through these Dragon tries as well, just to talk to us about what went wrong defensively? So obviously in the 6 minutes, the Dragons scored with a try off Egan, which was actually a really nice pass from King Togi. I actually thought he had a really good debut for a halfback. I thought he was quite impressive. What did you think of the Saints halfback, and where did we go wrong in that try?
So we broke it down. It broke down on the previous play when Sully went through our line. Look, defensively, our contact was so poor last night, and I think that's what Benji is really upset about. We were soft defensively last night, and I don't mean scramble. Our scramble defense has been outstanding all year. Like, our desperation in certain moments has been elite, but some of the first up contact last night was really poor. It compromised our line. They actually had us so stripped in that situation. Like, if they don't hit Egan, I think it was Egan that scored. He hit a lead line as a back rower on our centre, on Naden. So basically, if they go out the back there, they've got 3-on-1 on Taruva. So they had us stripped. We just didn't react to it well. Look, in the modern day, when someone makes a break like that with the 6 again rule, especially early in the game, there's been no penalties. What you got to do is you got to slow it down. You got to give away 6 to go there. You got to slow that down. You can't allow a quick play the ball. I mean, you don't want the play to break down, because he'll blow a penalty and he might put someone in the bin. But if you give away 6 to go, it gives time for your spacing in your line to sort of spread. And we didn't do that well, and we haven't done that well much all year. So that's a part of the improvement Benji's talking about. But yeah, compromised our line. We were stripped for numbers on that side. He reminds me a little bit of Jerome when he first started. He's got that little bit of a skip in his step. Tries to get on the outside of players, and then it's got a good left foot step. So yeah, he was impressive, but good line hit by Egan and first try to the Dragons.
Well, just like the Dolphins game, Adel, a few minutes later we bounced back with a beautiful try to Charlie Staines. And I've got to be honest, Adel, I'm a big Charlie Staines fan, but I was really worried given the limited amount of football he's played this year as to what sort of performance he was going to give us. And he was absolutely brilliant last night. Finished off the tries the way he should finish off. But look, before I delve into Staines too much, let's talk about that try. It was a beautiful ball from Luai out to Galvin, who did a fantastic bat on. I mean, the pass had enough speed for Galvin to bat it on to Charlie Staines, and then he finished like a true professional in the corner.
Yeah, I can't talk enough about that play from Galvin. To give you, if you want to talk in gymnastics terms, degree of difficulty on that was 9.9. Like, people can go try that at home with someone shooting out of a winger trying to shoot out, trying to kill you. And you've got to be brave enough to sort of bat it on, knowing you're probably going to get hammered after it. Mate, that was elite. That was class. That was everything. He could probably try that a couple of other times. I don't know if it's going to come off, but it's a great look. The shape was good. We executed well. It was a great decision by the winger, Sloan, to come out of the line there on Galvin. But class and great attack beats great defense all the time. So it was a beautiful tap on, and Staines' finish in the corner was brilliant.
Our great mate Shane Coet, who was with us last night watching from the Orange Grove, will be very happy that you didn't give that bat on a 10. So thank you for giving it a 9.9, because he thinks we give out 10s too easily when we're doing our player ratings. Okay, so in the 15th minute, St George go ahead 10-6 to a try from Valentine Holmes. I want you to talk us through this one. As much as I thought Naden had a shocking game, I feel like this was maybe a poor read from Taruva.
No,
because I think
it wasn't a poor. It was sorry.
Well,
it wasn't
I mean,
a poor read.
let me say this.
It was a poor miss. It was a poor miss.
Yeah, well, the St George winger was coming inside, so I think Naden did the right thing by not chasing too hard and waiting for the winger to receive the ball, and perhaps Taruva kind of tripped over himself a little bit in his efforts to get Valentine Holmes. And Valentine Holmes overall had a great game against us. He destroyed Naden. And he goes down that left-hand touchline and has Buller to beat. Maybe Buller could have done a bit better. I mean, he did tackle him, but I guess he was too close to the line and got the ball down for a try.
Yeah, we can't forget that Valentine Holmes is a Origin international. Like, he's a class player, and he would have had a spring in his step when he found out Stafford wasn't playing. Let's be honest.
Indeed.
Like, I don't joke to you about that, Rob. Like, that would have been a boost of confidence. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. When you've come up against someone who's done a really good job on you in the past and has caused you problems, that would have been a boost for him. That happened right in front of me. It was interesting after the try. Tito actually just looked around at the boys and goes, "That was me." Like, he took full responsibility for it. Like, you could see Jerome talking to the players. That's just a bad miss from Taruva, and he knew it in the moment. Like, once they did the switch, they defended it well, and Tito misses the tackle. You can't be missing the tackle. He knows that. You sort of go, right, cool, no worries. Our winger will make that tackle next time we move on. Could Jerome have saved the try in that situation? I'd say, 40% chance he should have or could have. But I'm not going to sort of, he was there. He made good contact. If the tackle's made 9 meters out, well, he saves the try. So, yeah, mate, well done to Valentine Holmes. It was good play, but yeah, I think it actually stems back to us conceding some poor offloads in that game. I think we struggled to contain their offloads.
Well, we bounced back in the 20th minute. We had a nice little shift to the right from Luai to Buller, out to Seyfarth, who drew in his defender and left Taruva unmarked for the try line. Adel, to me, this seemed like Saints overcommitted to Buller. They obviously knew Jerome Buller's, the threat and the guy you got to watch. But it just looked like a very simple play, and we created extra numbers quite easily. How did you see that try?
Well, the key with coaching and matchups against teams is you want to be reviewing and previewing teams and what they do. We have not run that play all year. No one's ever seen that play where Jerome becomes a two-pass. It becomes basically a 5'8", becoming our ball player where all of a sudden, who's our right centre there? Naden becomes a lead line for Seyfarth running a tail. Other teams have done it. We've never done that. So when you're preparing and you're the St George defence coach and you're preparing your left edge, that's not a shape that you're telling him is coming your way. So when it does come your way, you're sitting there and you're seeing Seyfarth sort of sitting out the back of shape. Well, as Valentine Holmes is a centre, all you're concentrating on is Brett Naden hitting a line, which he does, and he overcommits to it. So again, you've got to give the compliment to the coaching staff to say, okay, here's the play. This is the week we're gonna bring it out, and we're gonna run this play against these guys because we think Valentine Holmes will overcommit, and he did. The positive for me is the evolution of Jerome Buller's game, where he could turn into a ball player there. He's normally the guy running the tail lines. They've entrusted him to become a primary ball handler in that situation. Jerome tips him the pass and he has to make the decisions. He gets to the right player. He hits the right line. He squares up at the line and he makes the right decision to go out the back to Seyfarth, who does a really good job to catch and pass it to River. So that's the promising part of what we did last night, is it showed that we're not just sitting there, not doing nothing. The team is preparing, the team is starting to, and the coaches are putting the work in to make sure that we are not just going to be the same predictable attack every single week.
Well, it's like we've had all these plays in our trick bag, Adel, and we just decided to bring a lot more out last night. So it certainly was fantastic to see that, change in variety in attack. Okay, we go on to the 28th minute. So we get to 16-10. Luai puts, I don't know what you'd call it, like a mini bomb. Saints decide not to contest the bomb. Adam jumps up for the ball, gives it out to Samuela, who feeds it to Charlie Staines. Look, Charlie did a good job finishing that try. I thought it was terrible defence from Sloan. I thought Sloan could have done a much better effort there. But again, credit to Charlie for finishing off the try. Thoughts on that one, mate?
Very short and sharp. That's a reserve grade try. That's a poor missed tackle from Tyrell Sloan. I think Charlie and everybody else was just surprised how that ended up being a try. So you just take it and walk.
Well, look, it was good to see Luai's kicking game on point, as we saw with that try. Then he absolutely served up a perfect kick for Samuela Fainu on a grubber kick. It looked to me like Flanagan was waiting for Samuela to run through the middle of his chest and was deceived by the fact that a grubber kick came through. And to Samuela's credit, he grounded the ball perfectly. And that got us out to 20-10 in the 32nd minute. Give us your take on that try, mate.
Yeah, again, it's really good coaching. I think we've made a conscious effort this year of running the ball on tackle 5, and we do that later in the game as well. But like I indicated earlier, my presumption is that was a set play. They noticed that Gutherson made the tackle the previous play, so he was caught at the ruck, which meant he couldn't get across to become the fullback there. So they run the nice shape. And on this occasion, they used Samuel as a lead line, which they hadn't done previously in the first half, which makes Valentine Holmes come up. And not Valentine Holmes. I've gone blank there. Moses Sully comes shooting out of the line, which he tends to do. So again, that would have been a tip on their tip sheet to talk about when you run shape on that side. If you ever do run with a lead line with a back rower, well, then Moses is going to come shooting out of the line, which means the winger's got to come out. The winger can't sit back if your center's coming. So that makes him susceptible to the little kick in behind, which Jerome nails. Again, degree of difficulty on that is above 9s to be able to shape the ball like he did, to then curl away towards Samuela and basically sit it in the in goal on a slippery surface last night. That was absolute class.
Well, we get to the 40th minute, Adel, and just like last week, we look for all money like we're going to concede a try. And Jerome Buller scores a 105-metre length try off some magnificent lead-up work from St George and a try assist from Sewer. Mate, these things don't happen to us. We don't get this lucky. Credit to Jerome for being aware still to pick up that ball and not stop on the play and take off. But again, it just felt like we'd won lotto as a club, and to have that 12-point turnaround and to go in, 26-10 as opposed to 2016, that was a huge moment in the game, Adel.
I watched Benji's press conference last night. I was the same as him during the game. I was actually livid when that try was scored. And you laugh about it and whatnot, but the the way that was played out, like how could we get to a situation? And I know I'm going to be negative here, but how can we get to a situation where they run shape on the left-hand side? They do one basic offload with a switch. Cole Flanagan throws a Harvard bridge pass to their back rower, and we've got one defender on that side of the field. Like, I don't know whether everyone's watched the press conference. Benji, when they asked him about that try, he was so angry.
Well, it
And
comes back
you've
to that first up. Sorry, Adel, it comes back to that first up contact you're talking about. Because if you rewind the tape back, St George have the ball. It's the last tackle, and for some strange reason, Flanagan goes short to a back rower, and I was so happy with that, thinking, beautiful, we're just going to wrap him up, and we don't, and he gets that offload away, and again, that contact is what created that problem because I thought we'd absolutely extinguished that play. And it turned out the ball was kept alive. I mean, look, it didn't work out, but to Adam's credit, he did try and come in because he knew we were absolutely decimated for numbers, but missed who he needed to get. And yeah, I just dropped my head down, and you see it as you're watching the live reaction YouTube video of us at the Orange Grove Hotel. And yeah, just to my disbelief, I just see Jerome Luai running the other way, and it was shades of Burgess and Brooks from the Tigers and the South a few years ago at Acor. But look, I'll take it, mate. We didn't deserve that moment, but again, I guess if you just don't give up on any play, and you're alert and you're prepared, some good things end up happening to you.
Well, let me say this, and I couldn't have been any more satisfied. And this is a little bit of fun for everybody at home. I was sitting behind a St George fan who just was carrying on all game, like it was so annoying. And he had taken a bet on the game, and in that bet he had both our wingers to score. He had Dylan Egan to score and both their second rowers to score, and he needed Jaden Sewer to win a big bet. And mate, he was crying, and it felt so
as
good
you would,
because he was carrying on all first half, and he was just giving it to Galvin all game. Like I had to be really contain myself because I am very defensive with our team. And yeah, that made me feel good. That was the only thing that made me feel good about that try. But yeah, look, I've got a bit of a theory actually, and I'm interested to see. And I've sent a message to a friend of mine who works at Fox. This weekend we have not seen anyone go to the bin for a high tackle. I believe that coaches have decided it's too hard to worry about. It's too hard to sort of ask the players to do anything other than go now below the ball with contact. We've seen so many offloads this weekend. And the difference now in tackle technique is you have to go under the ball, which obviously is the old school way. But the problem with that is if you don't tackle over the ball, well, then players are going to be able to get their arms free and offload. We are seeing so many more offloads. So it's going to be, and I think this is what the NRL wants. They want more expensive football. So it's not one-out stuff and play the ball and play, next play and next play. So it's an interesting thing, and I'm interested to see whether the numbers of offloads have gone up in the last couple of weeks since this whole notion of high tackles has changed in the game and tackle targets are being asked to be lower. I think it's something significant the coaches have got to notice and talk about, because if that's the case, well, defenses are going to change. You cannot be doing what we were doing last night. As soon as contact was made, our defensive line was already starting to retreat. If you're doing that, well, you might be in a little bit of trouble, which we were last night a couple of times. I'd be interested to see how many tries they scored, and I should have probably done this a little bit earlier, but I know their first try, the Valentine Holmes try, and their first try actually on the third tackle was off an offload. The Valentine Holmes try was off an offload. So yeah, that no try to Sewer was off an offload as well. So I think that's the part of our game, both in attack and in defence. We've got to get better at it. In attack, we've got to be able to capitalise on it, but in defence, we've got to be a bit more alert to what we were.
Both teams had 13 offloads each for the night, Adel. So our offloads were way down on what we did against Cronulla. But look, it just felt. I mean, I know we got a really rough decision with Valentine Holmes knocking the ball on early in the game, but it just felt like it was going to be our night from that try. And again, it's only a minor thing. And I think the world of Clint Gutherson. I think his anticipation and what he brings to his football team every week is magnificent. But when Clint Gutherson drops a bomb, you kind of feel like maybe it's United. He dropped a bomb when St George are up 10-6, and I think we ended up scoring, shortly after that. So it just felt, having watched that first half, it was going to be our night. But given what St George threw at us right on half time, you knew that was going to happen again in the second half, and that we couldn't rest on our laurels. And I believe the game plan or the message from half time from Benji was to come out and keep playing footy. But look, we'll get on to that second half, mate. It just seemed from the very first minute we weren't going to get a fair go. I mean, Saints got a couple of back-to-back penalties straight away, and that kind of set the tone for the whole second half. The first scoring play of that half, mate, didn't come till the 52nd minute. So Jacob Liddell goes from dummy half. Mate, I need you to talk me through this one, because it's easy to watch from the Orange Grove and say, I knew Liddell was going to go from dummy half. The whole world knew he was going to run from dummy half. How do we let that happen?
Yeah, look, it's one of those ones that as a coach, again, you look at it on video. You look at it on video, and potentially we've just got to be better with it. I'm not sure whether they did talk about it pre-game about him going from dummy half. I'm actually watching it as we speak. Fanua gets caught in the ruck, so that sort of didn't help, and I think that was the indicator for Liddell to go. I'm just having a watch of it again, because I sort of didn't remember. I mean, I remember the try, but I didn't remember exactly how it happened. So yeah, look, he's actually very good at doing that out of dummy. He's very, very much like Talon in that he scores a lot of those dummy half tries. So yeah, I agree. I mean, you got to be better in that situation. And Terrell probably fell asleep a little bit in that split second, and Little's very quick and very strong out of dummy half. So it's one of those things that, again, you've got to be a little bit better. But I think that was also off the back of the referee gave them 2 or 3 6-set restarts. And I think that the boys sort of know and understand, well, if you slow it down again, he's probably going to put someone in the bin. And he was itching to put someone in the bin as far as I'm concerned. So they probably just said, well, we'll let them play the ball. We'll let him have a bit of a quicker play the ball, and Little took advantage of it. So it's one of those ones, mate. I think I texted you during the game and said, that was, I think, 6 sets in a row for the Dragons, that they just gave them. But yeah, no, I'm trying to stay positive when it comes to refereeing.
Oh, well, this one isn't so positive. So 4 minutes later, in the 56th minute, Liddell goes in again. Saints stripped us of numbers down our right side, and Liddell is flying through on the inside, coming to back up, takes the pass and runs and scores a few metres to the left of the post. Again, we got caught down that right side. A little bit earlier, Adel, we'd already taken Naden off, which I thought was a really good call by Benji to actually be proactive as opposed to reactive, and just, instead of letting him play out the game and costing us victory, I was actually glad that Naden was taken off the field in the 48th minute, replaced by Bird. But anyway, talk us through the second try to Lids. And look, I know he's a St George player now, but it really is good to see him doing well. I always had a soft spot for him at the Tigers, and he had a bit of a poor run with injuries, but he seems to have found his feet at St George.
Yeah, we got caught. Seyfarth sort of coming back late on the short side. They took advantage of it for some reason. I don't know why. Luciano, every time he plays against us, just plays his best ever football. You basically never see him the rest of the year. He runs a really good, play down the short side. I think we've found our Achilles heel defensively is where teams are starting to target us, is on that right edge, sort of not so much at our try line, a little bit further out, where we're a little bit passive. They really went at Galvin last night. They went at him really hard. They tried to make him make a lot of decisions defensively. In this situation here, you actually find I think it was Val Holmes. It might have been the half, actually. The half runs a lead line for Luciano, which I think would have confused the defence a little bit, because you never see a half running a lead line. They play out the back to Holmes. I'll tell you what, if you're a little bit smarter, when you probably can't do it, the half runs outside shoulder of Galvin, and Galvin's too honest in that situation. Instead of actually trying to run and actually run into him, which he would have got a penalty for, he actually gets out of the way and runs around and tries to help. So he was probably being a little bit too honest that as a kid, they're just playing and playing the game instead of maybe a little bit more gamesmanship in that situation, because the St. George player misses his assignment and hits the outside shoulder. But yeah, look, I think the disappointing part for me is, and this is the difference in competitiveness, right? They make the break, and if you see who the last person to make the tackle on Liddell is, it's Jerome from the other side of the field. Now that's the play where I sort of put on video and go, okay, so Jerome has come from the other side of the field. Where was everybody else? Where was our scramble in the middle of the field turning up? Because if one more person turns up and puts himself in the passing lane of that inside pass, well, that could be the difference. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later on with their last strike. The problem we've got at the moment is those guys are still learning the habits of competing till the 80th minute and competing on every single play. You've got to compete. You got to be. There's no time to be tired when you're on the field, and you got to be competing on every single play. So, yeah, that's where the disappointment is for that try. But you know what? Good job from the Dragons to run that play down the short side and good execution on the end of it.
Just to further your point about, perhaps Galvin doing a bit of acting, I can't remember the try, Adel, but it was either the first or second try for New Zealand against the Cowboys in the earlier game. I think the half for the Cowboys could have done the same thing. He could have fallen over. It might have been Clifford, but anyway, that's to digress. If anyone rewatches that game, you can have a look there and see if he should have flopped. Well, mate, this was an aberration in the second half, because I thought we got no penalties or no 6 agains in the second half, but I'd forgotten about the penalty goal we kicked. So we actually did get a penalty. Doueihi slots it over. I think it was the right thing to give us, that 6-point lead. Do you agree it was the right thing to go for goal, or would you have tried to go for the try there?
No, absolutely, I'd go for goal there. Absolutely. I'm a big believer in any time you're in the lead, doesn't matter what the lead looks like, or you're all locked up at any time during the game. And on top of that, even early in the game, the first 10 minutes, even if you're down 6-0, I'm a big believer, take 2 points. Because all you got to do is get another penalty goal, take it again, and that's a try. That's the equivalent of a try. So I'm big on taking points in games. So I love it.
Mate, we get to the 72nd minute. Adam Doueihi does a try assist for Adam Doueihi.
Can we go back a sec though?
Of course you can.
Can we talk about two things before that? Can we talk about the no try to Jerome, which to me is 100 from where I was sitting right there. That's a try. Yep. I don't know how the referees decided that's not a try, and decided that I'm going to go upstairs. There's no try, where it was so clear, like it's impossible for him to have stopped him then. And the ball was on the ground. It shows the last thing we seen was the ball on the ground, and the ball ends up on the ground after. And that's the question the video referee asked the referees. I don't know how it was no try, but the problem was once he went up as no try, they couldn't change the decision. So I want to talk about that. And then the other one I want to talk about is the ridiculous captain's challenge we had to do. And I'm firing up here, Rob.
No, you've seen my notes, because I was going to go through the tries and then go back to the talking points of the second half. So you're actually doing me a favour here, but keep going. This
happened before it, and I was 130. I was 130 meters away. I promise you, Rob. I was 130. I measured it. I was 130 meters away from that, and I went, nobody touched that. So how can they miss it from 10 meters away? I get it on TV, like we've got all the angles, but when you're at the ground and you are so far away, how can they miss it? I don't understand. I actually, it baffles me.
Okay, well, just to give myself a little bit of, so people know that I did make some notes. We don't have to touch on these, but Flanagan bombs a try to Tyrell Sloan earlier in that second half, when I probably thought he should have put his foot down himself. One thing we didn't talk about, again, it's a negative, but I don't know if Galvin was aware of the situation, but when we were in the red zone, Luai put a grubber kick in. We got 6 to go, and Galvin tries to shuttle the ball out to his left winger, and then that actually turned the game for me. That kind of that's when Saints went on a little bit of a break, and then from that moment, we never really seemed to establish field position after that. The ball and no try from the bomb. Look, having watched the replay, I think the only thing we can criticise is how didn't it go up a try. I got no issue with the video ref going with whatever the on-field decision was, because it did go up no try. There's no conclusive proof to overturn it. The ball was definitely on the ground before the line, but there's no camera angle to show whether Corey Allen lifted Jerome Buller up or not. And look, you just mentioned it, the Taruva no touch late in the game when we had to challenge it. What would we have done if there was no challenge there? Look, I'm always hypercritical of the referees, Adel, but one thing I accept, well, maybe not so much with the pass from Cobbo to whoever it was against Brisbane a few weeks ago, but generally if a touch judge or a referee misses a forward pass or misses something, you just say that happens in the run of the game. When a touch judge says he saw a touch that never existed, that shits me to death. I would rather the ball was touched and the touch judge thinks, I'm not sure if he touched the ball, so I can't call it. But there was so much air between Taruva's arm and the ball that the ball never changed direction. It was an absolutely ridiculous call from the touch judge. Thankfully, we had the challenge. That's why the captain's challenge is a good thing. And not only is it a good thing, I think we should have more than one captain's challenge in a game. We stopped the game for, to see if it was a goal line dropout, or we stopped the game for a try to see if it's a try or not. A couple more stoppages aren't going to hurt to get it right. And again, you mentioned earlier about the Gutherson challenge. Look, that was the right decision to challenge when he saved the 40-20 from Api Coruscant. 100% it's the right decision. But the fact is, you can't have a challenge after you've watched the video on the screen and 23 seconds after the challenge. That was the issue. It was a challenge that should never have been allowed to happen, although they did get the decision right. Are you still there, buddy, or have you just turned the video off? All right, looks like we've just lost Adel for a few minutes, but I will keep talking. So in the 72nd minute, as I said, Adam Doueihi, we do a nice little play down the left. There was really nothing doing. Adam puts a deft little grubber kick in. Charlie Staines challenges the ball with Gutherson. I don't think Gutherson wanted to take the ball because he was concerned about, potentially knocking the ball on or going into touch. And then it ricochets off Gutherson and Charlie. Ball's lying on the ground. Adam picks up the ball, scores a try, kicks the goal. Looks like we've got a 12-point lead. Adel, I was just going through the Doueihi try while we lost you there for a sec. Look, statistically, mate, you look at Adam's stats for the game, and I'll read them out. 33 metres, 2 offloads, 11 tackles, 4 missed. Like, the stats just look like absolutely nothing. In my eyes, there's no doubt Adam Doueihi was the man of the match. He was the best player on the field, yet statistically, it doesn't show. I thought he made so many good decisions in everything he did. I thought he kicked the ball well, like in that little grubber kick. Like in that little play we did in the first half up the left-hand sideline when Holmes knocked the ball on when we didn't get the call. His defensive reads were mostly good. I just think Adam's really found his feet and his confidence. But talk us through that try, and maybe I'll just get your overall thoughts on Adam's game.
Yeah, I'll touch on a couple of things, and sorry for cutting out. I just realised when someone tries to call me that it just cuts us out for some reason. I'll touch on a few things, Rob. So first of all, the Galvin trying to shovel the ball off the ground. I think that's a really good lesson in the difference in experience between Galvin and Luai. In the first half, Luai on the last tackle sort of runs the ball, almost goes through, and Liddell tackles him right, 10 metres out. And he had support. And what he didn't do is he didn't just fling the pass out the back. He took the tackle, gave him a changeover, 8 metres out from their line. We continue to build pressure. We don't give them an opportunity to sort of transition into something and get them on the front foot. Whereas, again, the Galvin one, just pick up the ball, get tackled. If it's not 6 to go, that's okay. They've got the ball 9 metres out. We're up by 12. Build pressure. That's something he'll learn as the game goes, as his career goes on. The other one is the one he touched about, ridiculous, the 40-20. Like, we were at the ground. So St. George didn't challenge till they seen it on the big screen. So that's two things. One is, I'm sure it went over time. Two, the NRL cannot be allowing the replay to be on the big screen before the captain's challenge time is over. If they're going to do that, they've got to do that for everybody. So that's a little bit of a touchy subject. The Doueihi try again, it's Jerome. And Jerome was my man of the match, by the way. He was our best player by a country mile. And at the game, I don't know if you can watch it on the replay, Jerome and Galvin are actually on the right side of the field as the play the ball's about to happen, and Jerome is yelling, absolutely yelling at the top of his lungs for them to both swing around because he wanted to run the ball on tackle 5. And they both sprint and they come around the other side. They run shape. It gets to Doueihi, and mate, again, I've said this too many times tonight about the degree of difficulty, mate. The difficulty on that kick from Doueihi is ridiculous. And all he did was he was trying to put it in the corner there. That wasn't an attacking kick. They weren't trying to score. But what you do is you get a result when you put yourself in that position, and that's what he did. And mate, he deserved that try. And I agree with you, mate. His defensive decisions, his IQ about when to come out of the line and when to sort of stay passive is outstanding. Our left side defense has been really, really strong. When him, Luai, and it doesn't really matter who's on the left wing for us at the moment, but our left side defense has been really, really strong for us. So I agree with you. I don't think he was our best player last night. To me, Jerome Luai was our best player. I thought he was. That's his best game he's played for us, and he was the difference between us winning the game last night. But mate, Doueihi is in that. Doueihi does not leave our team. He's our left centre for the rest of the year. There's no, unless you're signing, I don't even know who's the left centre out there that you could sign. But yeah, unless someone turns up in our lap, Doueihi's our left centre for the rest of this year.
Adel, I want to go through some of the team stats. I'm going to read them all out, and you just at the end of this touch on
it's
what
crazy. These are going to be crazy.
Look, some of them are quite even. Some of them are quite even, and some of them are just so lopsided it's ridiculous. So let me read them out for you. Time in possession: Tigers 26 minutes and 17 seconds, Dragons 26 minutes and 3 seconds. Meters gained: we gained 1,607 meters. They gained 1,715 meters. The post-contact was 535 to 539. Line breaks, we only made 2, they made 12, a huge lopsided count there. Tackle breaks, we made 16, they made 42. Our average set distance was pretty similar. We made 42.31, they were at basically 44. Average play the ball speed was almost the same, 3.42 to 3.46. Offloads, as I mentioned earlier, 13 each. Tackles made, 306 from us, 357 from them. Tackles missed, 42 from us, 16 from them. Terrible. The penalties were 4 all, and the 6 agains, they got 4, we got 1. Any of those stats, mate, that you'd like to talk about, whether they were good or bad?
Well, today's going to be the day that a lot of people don't know this, that you're going to realise that, when you see tackle breaks and missed tackles, it's always the opposite. That's all it is. So just for those people out there that always read those stats, so if you look at tackle breaks, we had 16 to their 42. That's what the missed tackles is. So it sort of flips it.
Wow.
A lot of people, when I tell them that, they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize that." So yeah, that's something that people should notice.
Very good pickup.
What it is, right, is it's a little bit of the Bulldogs of last year when they were building their identity. Is people would look, and these are the sort of stats that'll happen in games. They go, how's the other team got so many line breaks? How's the Bulldogs missed so many tackles, but they're winning games? It's a little bit of that. It's our scramble is what's made us really, really good. To me, it's a little bit of a positive, and this is the part that I'm really, really comfortable as, not as a coach at the club, but as a fan, is that somehow we won that game last night with 12 line breaks to 2. That's a stat. That's a ridiculous stat. And you can talk about our attack, and you can say, well, that means our attack's not great. That's not the true indication of what the game looked like last night. It's the fact that we were able to handle them making 12 line breaks, and they only scored 5 tries.
Adel, I've been saying all year we're a good team. We really are a good team, and what the good teams do is they win games when statistically they're not meant to win games.
Absolutely.
That's what they have off days in certain facets of the game. Look, I do think our first half attack was as good as I'd seen, but to counteract that, I thought, as you mentioned, the first up contact from our defence was quite awful. Mate, I want to, in our remaining minutes, I just want to touch on the players and Benji Marshall as well, in terms of their performance and their preparation. Let's start with Benji first, mate, before we get on to the players. We only used 7 of the interchanges last night, so I don't mind having an interchange up our sleeve. I mentioned it earlier, and I'm so happy he pulled the plug on Nate, and I think unfortunately, and I don't want to be hypercritical of Naden. Personally, I believe Naden just can't defend in space anymore. He's not a defensive centre. Perhaps he can do a job on a wing where there's limited space, and he can use his athletic ability to catch some high balls. He made 170 metres in our win last week against Cronulla, so he actually had quite a good game on the wing. But I think he can hide his defensive deficiencies with him being on the wing. In the centre, Adel, you just can't hide him, mate. He was beaten too easily last night. He only missed 3 tackles, but it was just a matter of when, not if. But anyway, talk us through Benji first.
I mean, I've been accused of being biased towards Benji, but yeah, look, I said to someone that's very close to him last night, look, it doesn't matter what Benji does, I'm going to defend him. But all I want everybody to do is go watch the press conference of last night. Tell me that's not a guy that's confident, comfortable in himself and what he believes in for this team, and he doesn't have the same standards we have as fans wanting success. I said it. I'm not sure if I said it on our podcast a couple of weeks ago. Look, that the way he handled the Galvin press conference that day, that scrum of media at Concord, you know, you should go watch the Hello Sports podcast reaction to that with Den and Kemp. And those guys are sitting there going, I want him to be my coach. I want to be coached by him. I don't want anyone else to be our coach right now. I couldn't care who it is. Like, you could talk about all the great coaches. I don't know what they could do with this squad, but all I do know is what Benji's doing with the squad. And I don't know where that's going to end us up right now, but how and why can you criticize him right now? Like, how could anybody criticize him? If you're going to criticize him, you're a moron. You don't like our club. By the way, I don't really care. He's not going to watch this. Stick it up, you Willie Mason, you dog. He really pissed me off the last couple of weeks with some of the things he said. And he's someone that's always been known that doesn't like our club. And I know I'm a nobody compared to him, but I don't really care because he's someone that's really pissed me off the last couple of weeks with some of the things he's been saying. And I don't know whether you've seen it, Rob, about he said that we shouldn't be at Magic Round. Like, nobody wants to watch us, or he doesn't want to watch us play. I don't know why I'm getting fired up, Rob. I'm getting a bit fired up on this Sunday morning.
No, good on you, mate. Well, mate, it's not exactly like Canterbury set the world on fire in attack. They've got to be one of the most boring teams to watch. And good on them. They found a winning method, but they're not exactly the entertainers of rugby league. Like, they're just playing that typical Bulldog style.
Yeah, and I think people are attacking Benji. I think this is all about, like, the people that are attacking us at the moment are attacking Benji. They're not, you know, there's been a lot of hate towards our club the last couple of years, and you know what? Justifiably so. We've won 3 wooden spoons. You can't hide away from that. But give the guy his flowers. We've won 9 games this year already. Sorry, we've won 5 games this year in 9 games, in 9 rounds. When's the last time we've done that? Who are the other coaches? Who are the other coaches that we've had that everybody loved that have got us to this stage previously, besides Sheensy?
We've won more games this year than we have combined for 2022 and 2023. That's how poor those years were. Mate, you just tell me if you want me to stop or not, and I'll stop. Do you want to talk about Buller?
Freak. I'll give you one word. You tell me a player, I'll give you one word.
Okay. Taruva.
Energy.
Doueihi.
Class.
I'm looking forward to this word. Naden.
I'm going to say resilient because I think he still battled through it. Yeah, he was poor, but I think he battled through it. I'm going to be positive with the boys. I'm being honest with you.
Good man. Stainsy.
Happy for him. That's not one word, but I'm happy for him.
The Galvinator.
Proud. And for those at home, and I sent you something before the game, Rob, with the boys, go watch when Charlie Staines scored his first try, and go watch the celebration between Luai and Galvin. Don't try to put a bloody hole in our club because those boys are connected.
Romy.
Competitor.
He just brings it, doesn't he, mate? He brings the confidence, he brings the swagger, he brings the energy. He sets every standard in this club. He's just beautiful to have as one of our.
Before you continue, The next time you go, if you're a West Tigers fan, the next time you go to a game, I know it's going to be hard to do this. Watch Jerome for the whole game, as much as you can. Just watch him. Just watch him. It'll fill your heart with joy that is the halfback and captain of our club. I promise you.
Well, let's talk about May. In the month of May,
A winner.
Coruscant.
He's my brother. He's our leader.
Bole.
Improving.
Samuel Afenu.
The best is yet to come.
Alex Seyfarth.
Take the tackle, Alex.
Hey, the next guy, mate. I want to touch on this. You always talk about him. You know, he'll never do much more than be a 7 out of 10. I want to read his stats out. Alex Twal, 115 metres, no offloads or line breaks, 30 tackles, none missed. And the 115 metres and the 30 tackles, that's only in 47 minutes.
Yeah,
you can give me more than one word, but he was great.
I will. And Rob, I always said his minimum is a 7, his best is an 8. That's what I always say with him, which is great. He was an 8 last night. His aggression was outstanding last night.
And somehow he's found this little bit of extra leg speed and footwork that he used to be a bit of a plotter with his running, but he's actually a bit of a threat now when he's got the ball in attack. I mean, he didn't offload last night, but he certainly had a couple of offloads last week against Cronulla. I just think his game's improving, which I find surprising given how long he's been in the NRL. So players can improve under Benji Marshall. Talon De Silva.
Should have come on earlier. There's my criticism of Benji.
No, I'm gonna counteract that. The game was on the line when Talon came on, Adel. We were only winning by 6 points. This is before the Adam try. It's a big risk, but credit to Benji for not keeping Appy out there and trusting Talon to be there at the end of the game and finishing off. Because in those situations in the past, Benji leaves his best players on. Talon's a young bloke. He needs that experience of pressure time, game-winning time. I was happy for him to finish the game, even though it was risky not having Appy there. But I'm encouraged that Benji trusted Talon enough to let him play those last 14 minutes and finish the game off. And look, he only missed 1 tackle in that time. I thought he was pretty good in his limited minutes.
I don't know. Did you also notice that this is how much Benji trusts Appy? He put him on for the last 3 minutes, took Terrell May off.
I didn't notice that.
We finished the last 3 minutes. We had Appy and Talon on the field together.
Okay. Jack Bird.
Yeah, did his role really, really well.
Royce Hunt.
He's a big human. He kept walking up in front of us.
You think?
My friend is looking at me going, look how big, like he would not watch the game. He's kept annoying me going, look how big he is. And I actually turned around. So my friend has never played rugby league in his life. And I turned around and looked at him. I said, what would you do if Royce Hunt run at you? He said, it's an elbow up or I'm getting out of the way. There's no other. He goes, I'm running out of the way.
Sione Fainu.
I love Sione. I think he's a really underrated member of our squad.
Mate, well, we've gone through the players. I want to give you an interesting statistic that you might not have heard of, Adel. Shane Richardson talked up our spine, saying it was the best spine in the NRL. I thought that was a little bit too far. It was brought to my attention last night that when we have Buller, Galvin, Luai and Coruscant starting, we are 5-1 this year. So it shows you how important those 4 members of the team are when they're all there. Mate, we have a really good team. We've got a lot to look forward to. I want to say something about the Melbourne game, and then I'll let you finish on that before we sign off, Adel. When we played Brisbane a few weeks ago, though we tried hard and the scoreline didn't look great, even though we were down 7-5, I think in the back of our minds, we didn't believe that we were capable of winning that game. I don't think we're going to get that next week. I think we're going to go down to Melbourne with plenty of belief. Sure, we can't defend like we did last night to get the result, but I saw a little bit of attitude in how we attacked the game last night, in particular in the first half, to say that we don't fear anyone anymore. Whether we win or lose, we're going for it. And I'm really excited about how this season can pan out. Obviously, depth is a big issue for us. We don't need any more injuries. We're already missing a couple of players. Hopefully, Star is back next week for the game. But, mate, we can take these guys. Melbourne aren't invincible. And no one's invincible, and we're a bloody good team. Thoughts on Melbourne and the rest of our season? How are you feeling right now before we sign off?
Yeah, I'm realistic. I'm realistic in the sense that sometimes when you play Melbourne in Melbourne, it's not so much about what you do; it's about what they're doing. When they click, they're the best team in the comp, as far as I'm concerned. So sometimes you just got to, and the key is going to be absorbing that first 20 minutes with Melbourne. That first 20 minutes, I've talked about, I don't like when we front load our energy. Next week, let's front load it. Let's go hard early with them in the game. Let's really try to put it to them. I don't know. Is Harry Grant? I don't think Harry Grant's back next week, is he?
No, he won't be. He won't be back. And I think we need to target those inside balls around the ruck. And we've seen how lazy Stefano can be.
Don't even worry about that. It's more so that he would trouble us. This is the thing about, we said it with Liddell. Crafty, dangerous number 9s trouble us. So I think that's really important. And what they do is they compromise our defensive line. So him not playing is really big for us. But someone like Tyron Wishart off the bench, that's a danger for us. Those are the sort of guys that, to me, can really, really trouble us more than anything. So, yeah, I think it's not so much about what we do next week. It's about what Melbourne do. And we've got to be able to absorb that early, they're going to throw haymakers at you early in the game. And if you can withstand it, you can be there with them at halftime. And, what you don't want is, the thing Benji keeps talking about, those first 10 minutes of every second half has been poor for us this year. So you want to be in the fight at halftime and then come out in the second half. The other thing that I didn't note to you last night, Rob, was this is West Tigers' luck. The wind actually started blowing in the second half. Anyone didn't know this, behind the Dragons. So there was a slight breeze behind the Dragons in the second half yesterday as well. So, yeah, back to my Melbourne point, we've got to absorb what they do early, and then we've got to be in the fight at halftime, and then we've got to start the second half well. If we're not in the fight at halftime, well, Melbourne are the team that will blow you away, and they'll blow you away early if you don't fight with them early. So you've got to really start well. You've got to front load all that energy and complete really well early in the game.
Well, Adel, thanks for joining us, mate, on this Sunday morning. I know you've got a big day today, and we actually both have big days, so I'm kind of glad we got this done so early in the morning and can put it out there for our listeners. I hope all our listeners do join us from the Orange Grove Hotel on Wednesday night, where we will break down this game a little bit more and preview the Melbourne Storm game for next week.
I'll be there. I'll be there, Rob, next Sunday. I'll be at the Orange Grove next Sunday to watch the Storm.
Oh, beautiful! There's a pleasant surprise. Okay, well, I'll certainly look forward to that
next week.
Well, everyone
got to be in Sydney for Mother's Day. Got to be in Sydney for Mother's Day.
Okay, well, everyone come down and say good day to Adel and me and Josh and Aaron and the boys. I hope you all have a really good week. It's great to be on the positive side of the ledger again. 5-4. We could have even been 8-1, guys. Stop putting us down. We're not a bad team. We're a bloody good team. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the West Tigers Life podcast. You can join us every Wednesday night live at 8:30 p.m. from the Orange Grove Hotel. A big thank you to Orange Grove Hotel for their support, as well as iChoice Home Loans. If you want to hear more from the West Tigers Life podcast, go to westtigers.com.au. That'll be our link tree, and you'll find links to all our social media, and you can sign up at our Patreon at patreon.com/WestLife. Join us next time on West Tigers Life.